In the day's other headlines, inflation shows fresh signs of easing, but prices are still well above where they were a year ago.
Everything gotta cost an arm and a leg these days. Groceries, gas, Hatsune Miku 15th anniversary Nendoroid.
Oh no.
You can barely afford the essentials nowadays. Even video games got a price increase. So tell me, how can we enjoy our favorite pastime without breaking the bank? Luckily, Game Pass can be purchased for just $1 for the first month, which gives you access to a lot of amazing games. Halo, Fallout, Doom, games that have made an incredible mark on the industry and players alike. Except, we aren't going to be talking about these games. Step aside, mainstream video games. We want to see some hidden gems like this. Or this. Yeah, that's that good stuff. Originally, we picked a few options ourselves from the insanely long list of games available. However, we realized Xbox has a Surprise Me button, which picks a random game from the library for you to play. We let Game Pass pick 7 games for us and we played all of them. It's like gambling, but we're too poor to do that, so this is the next best thing. Our only factor when it came to how long we played a game for was basically just, do we want to keep playing it? Some games were so bland we only played for about 20 minutes, while others had us glued to our screens for hours. It's not the most concrete way to structure this, but I say, if it ain't fun, it's not worth my time. With that said, let's see which of these were worth our ever so valuable time. First up, we got Signalis. Signalis is a survival horror game developed by Rose Engine, a small studio consisting of a whopping 2 people. Signalis evokes the feel of those early Resident Evil games, and it nails this feeling. Have I played the original Resident Evil games? No. But I did watch a playthrough when I was like 11, so I think I know what I'm talking about. Fixed camera games never really appealed to me, but I was quickly able to adapt. This is in part to how Signalis nails the atmosphere. The devs were able to create a surprisingly engaging world despite the retro aesthetics. Anybody who's gone to state school will feel right at home. Huge props to the devs for making such an enthralling and interesting world. Definitely one of my favorite aspects. Gameplay-wise, it's your standard survival horror gameplay loop. Limited resources, scattered checkpoints, constant backtracking, yada yada yada. But these aren't necessarily negative aspects. Signalis wears its Resident Evil influence on its sleeve, and it's always interesting to see how devs can put a new spin on the classic formula. Despite the unique aesthetic and interesting feel, I had trouble sticking with it after the first hour or so. This could just be me though. The other main aspect of the game involves solving puzzles, which also involves a lot of backtracking. With how similar a lot of the areas of the game look, it was easy to get lost and turned around, and moving through the extremely similar dimly lit corridors got pretty grating. Again, I never grew up with the OG Resident Evil games, so maybe this type of gameplay just isn't for me. Even though I had my issues, I still want to finish this game before my precious month expires, and I gotta pony up like 10 smackaroos to keep it in my library. Maybe it's the incredible world and atmosphere, or the hints at a larger story, or the fact that there's android girls. Something about this game makes me want to see it through. Try out Signalis if you can. The next game Microshaft picked for us was a genuinely surprising one, but before we discuss it, we need to mention that we are not furries. I swear to you, that's just the type of art style this game has. There is a lot of other stuff in the game that is great that doesn't involve the anthropomorphization of woodland critters. With that, this game was actually really good. At first, we thought it was just another text-heavy game with a mediocre story, and while Beacon Pines does have a lot of text, it kept us hooked for hours. The storybook art style, the surprisingly gripping story, the attachment we felt towards the characters, there was a lot to love about Beacon Pines. We went into this game with pretty low expectations, but after just 30 minutes, we played the game less for the sake of this video, and more because we wanted to see what happens next. Beacon Pines has this really neat gameplay mechanic that I haven't seen from any other game yet. Throughout your adventures, you'll come across these charms. Charms are found by exploring the world and interacting with different characters. At first, we had no clue what they could be used for, but we soon found out that their use completely enthralled us. You'll come across these moments that are known as turning points where, depending on how many charms you found, you choose what will happen next. Not only that, but you can go back to certain turning points and rewrite what ends up happening. This isn't some Life is Strange type of choice-based system, where the choices you made boil down into 2 options.
I was eating those bees!
No, the narrative of the game can sometimes just end depending on the charm you chose. This led to us looking around at every nook and cranny in hopes of finding more charms. Even a great plot can be bogged down by poorly written characters, and this is most certainly not the case with Beacon Pines. The characters are so charming and fun that you can tell a lot of care went into writing them. They really felt like a bunch of kids that stumbled upon something they shouldn't have. They're layered and have their own motivations and struggles, which helped us care for them throughout the story. Last thing we'll mention is the art style, or more like art styles that you'll see throughout the game. Whether it's the incredibly detailed backgrounds, the character sprites, or the illustrations you'll come across when viewing each turning point, a subtle variety can be found between the various illustrations that comprise the style of Beacon Pines. While it's enough to notice if you're a smelly art head like me, the differing styles never compete or overpower one another, existing in harmony and even complementing each other at times. Again, we are not Beacon Pines legit blew my socks off. It proved me hella wrong, and honestly, I'm really glad it did. I definitely recommend giving it an hour or so of your time, and you'll see why we're hyping it up. Cute story games are neat and all, but how about something that makes me unspeakably angry? This game is simple. No story, no overzealous tutorial, just make it through the trail. Easy, right? Guess again. This game had us wanting to scream like a banshee and throw myself out a window.
Let myself out.
It's such a basic game, but there's a layer of difficulty to it that keeps you from beelining it to the finish line. The best way we can describe Lonely Mountain Downhill is that it feels like a Soulsborne game. I know that sounds schizo, but hear me out for a moment. You will crash over and over again, feeling like you aren't making any progress. But just like slamming your head into a wall, you start chipping away, bit by bit. You'll discover shortcuts that can shave precious seconds off your runtime, start mastering the mechanics of drifting and braking, and soar through the levels after many, many attempts. The gameplay is absolutely addicting. Because it is somewhat realistic in the ways you slide and brake, the gameplay loop had us focused for hours, getting angrier with each passing checkpoint. Not to mention just how hilarious it is.
The Signalis here must be better than this.
We haven't laughed this hard at a game in a long time. Seeing how hard the impact is when you slam into rocks and trees had us crying. Watching your little guy fly off the screen scratches that comedic itch that we haven't felt since Happy Wheels. Another great thing about Lonely Mountain Downhill is how atmospheric it is. The breeze passing through the trees, the sound of the bike wheels rolling over the dirt, the birds chirping through the air. It genuinely felt like ASMR. Because of how well the sounds and lighting of the game were handled, it really made us want to go out biking. But when you live in the car-dependent capital of the world, good luck. We highly recommend Lonely Mountain Downhill. There's fun time or crash-based challenges that unlock cosmetics and new trails that'll keep you restarting at that checkpoint over and over again. We can't only talk about the great games we were given, we have to talk about the amazing games we found as well. And what better game to represent this than with Match Point Tennis? Aw, hell yeah. Nothing screams the most exciting thing ever than tennis.
blow.
朋友是一个坚韧不拔的纪录片，在香港这座城市的社区。
I'm killing you. I'm killing you. I don't care about anything else. I don't give a shit about anything else.
It's just tennis, dog. I don't know what to tell you. We literally have less than 20 minutes of footage for this game. I couldn't be bothered to get any more. I would have been more interested if it had an item shop and I could buy a gritty emote. Next. There are so many games on Game Pass. A lot of them are there to pad out the selection to make it seem like you're getting your money's worth. After you dig through the entire Yakuza franchise and every Halo game, you can find the real reason you get Game Pass. Paw Patrol, Mighty Pup Save Adventure Bay. Words just can't describe how much emotion I felt being able to play this game. I remember being just 21 years old, wishing that I could combine my love for video games with the epitome of human literature and fiction, Paw Patrol. And now, thanks to Microsoft, I can fulfill the dream I held on to for all those years. Without exaggeration, this has to be one of the best games I've played in the last 4 hours. The superb voice acting, the lifelike animation, the incredible narrative, all wrapped into a game that pushes boundaries that I haven't seen anyone do before. I don't even think the creative genius of somebody like Kojima could compare. Our odyssey begins at the Paw Patrol Tower, a defiant beacon of hope in this unjust world. This game pulls no punches, as we are immediately greeted with a world-ending threat. A meteor has landed in Adventure Bay, threatening the ecological stability of the surrounding area. Rubble and Rocky, two characters with a very checkered past, put aside their differences for their greater good, and head out to the scene. Honestly, saying any more would ruin this experience. This is a work of art that needs to be experienced with as little prior knowledge as possible. Paw Patrol, Mighty Pup Save Adventure Bay is a story about change, about struggle, about finding yourself in the world that seems to crumble around us. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. This game is pawsome. Nah, this shit's ass, but it's a baby game, so it doesn't have to be breaking any boundaries. It might seem weird that a game like this would even be on Game Pass, but I could see the value for someone who has small kids. Having options like these for parents wanting to keep their kids entertained is kinda sweet. Although, I don't know who's gonna be letting their 5-year-old near their gaming PC.
I am simply saying that you
Will you shut up?
Hey.
Shut the hell up. Shut up. Shut up!
Skylar,
shut up!
please
Shut up!
stop.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
I've heard of Gundam, but I've never watched any of the series or played any of the games before, which is weird because anything with giant fighting robots appeals to me on a deeper level than most, so I was actually pretty excited to try this game out. I genuinely think I had more fun playing Paw Patrol. I don't know how you can make a game about piloting and fighting giant mechs this boring. One of the most frustrating things about this game is that there are actual nuggets of fun gameplay in here. It's just drowned out by tons of dialogue and these characters that I couldn't give a crap about. Get your damn fingers out of my face. I don't know where those things have been. Again, this could just be a case of me not really knowing anything about Gundam or the cool universe it seems to have. I can't say how entertaining this game is to someone who knows and cares about the series, but as someone who just wanted to play a game about fighting robots, I don't want to be stuck in 50 pop-up menus telling me 20 McNuggets have been added to my inventory. In the rare moments where you do get to play the game, it's actually pretty fun. Combat is fast and simple, but allows for various ways to fight. The different Gundams you unlock all have their own specialties, which can be upgraded further. You move through the levels quick, fighting various types of weaker enemies. You'll notice that this game looks noticeably lower budget, but they still managed to have more destruction than Battlefield 2042. The levels become a lot more engaging once you get to the end and you gotta face off against a boss enemy. They're noticeably harder than the other Gundams you fight up until this point, so you actually gotta dodge and strategize a little bit, which is fun. You know what might add more depth and fun into these levels? Playing it with 2 other people. Thankfully, SD Gangnam Style Alliance has just that. I tried it, but this happened.
Tom Holland, man, what the fuck? Man, I don't wanna talk yo.
So yeah, I don't really know what multiplayer is like. As somebody who knows nothing about Gundam, I couldn't really see a reason to stick with it after about an hour or so. But hey, I'm also not really the target demographic for this thing.
Dang long, ain't it?
Not gonna lie, seeing the state of this game is a little sad. Bleeding Edge is a third-person hero shooter that feels like multiple games combined into one. It was made by Ninja Theory, but as of making this video, it's basically dead. Steam charts had the game at just 3 players when we got footage for it with an all-time peak of 828 players. It didn't seem like the game got off to a great launch, and it certainly hasn't improved either. It makes us a bit sad because the gameplay is actually pretty fun, and the character designs are really interesting. Ninja Theory has abandoned the game, and it really shows considering how long it took us to get into the game. We're glad this game was chosen by Game Pass though, because it brings us to an emerging problem in the gaming industry: live service games. Live service games aren't inherently a bad thing. Plenty of great games are live service games. The problem is that the market is so oversaturated that games with an interesting gameplay loop die off, because playing even just one live service game regularly can feel like a job. Bleeding Edge is one of these games. A game with an art style that reminded us of Borderlands 3, and gameplay that was seriously fun to play, was given barely any time to shine because the market has too many competitors. Even Game Pass can't revive Bleeding Edge. We got a month's worth of Game Pass for $1, and it was easily the best dollar we've ever spent. We played great games, we played terrible games, and even played some in between. With more and more games being added to Game Pass, I think it's a pretty sweet deal. And with the Surprise Me button, we discovered some hidden gems we would have never tried out otherwise. Get out of your comfort zone a bit and try something different. There are some seriously well-made games out there waiting for you to boot them up. Thanks for watching. and we are not furry.